Last November, I did a 30 days Panipat lesser known story series, which was appreciated by most of you. This year, I'll do 30 days sales tips series, which will consist of 48 tips. None of the tips will be mine. These tips will be from my favorite authors/trainers. I'll mention whichever trainer has created that theory. I'm sure my friends exploring careers in sales will love it. Sales tip 1. Do a lot of mock presentation of your product before you actually start to pitch it in front of the client by yourself. It's an IBM training philosophy. You might be shocked to know that IBM in USA puts a salesperson for 18 months of rigorous training and shadow drills before putting him inside the market octagon. Sales tip 2. If you are doing telesales or buying an appointment from the lead with the help of a call, then first tool of judgment of the client should be his/her caller tune. A person's socio-economical and cultural upbringing can be easily understood with his caller tune. Eventually, you can design your presentations accordingly. This tip is from Kapil Parekh, who was ex-VP of Eureka Forbes Sales. Sales tip 3. Never call any lead without saving his/her number in the phone. If that person doesn't answer your phone at the first place and calls you back later, and if you ask him/her identity, then you reflect your unprofessionalism. Always try to be a consultant to the client instead of someone who is trying to sell. This tip is from Brad Sugars. Sales tip 4. Be it in boxing ring or sales ring, it's not always necessary about the first impression, but it's always necessary about the first punch. Sales tip 5. Before you enter client's cabin for your sales presentation, take deep couple of breaths, put a smile on your face and disconnect yourself with the rest of the world. One day at a time, one client at a time, one moment at a time. Always tell yourself from within that with your services/product, you are going to transform this person's life. Your product is going to give him precious and priceless moments in life. Once you equip yourself with above weapons, then enter his cabin and enjoy the battlefield with fullest of the passion. Dr. Virendra Rathod. Sales tip 6. Nobody's a born salesperson. It's just like nobody's a born engineer. Sales skills can only be gained through scientific training and rigorous practice. Learn sales through sales achievers. This tip is from Brian Tracy, who is world's highest paid sales trainer. Tip 7. Spend most of your working hours in productive things like meetings, gate crashing, getting appointments, prospecting, building rapport. And spend your travel time and listening to the podcast of the best in the business. This tip is from Tim Kent's. Sales tip 8. You should know when you should walk away from a client who is just passing your valuable time and eventually not buying anything. You can invest that time in other productive things, but by the time you are presenting your presentation to that particular client, you should put your entire energy till the last moment. Never fail to ask for a reference while walking away. This tip is from Marshall Goldsmith. Sales tip 9. In sales, no means no doesn't exist. Whatever the excuse of the client for not buying your product is only temporary. Continue the follow-up with certain intervals with better preparation and pitch. Give up on that customer only if he buys or dies. Jordan Belfort. Real life, the Wolf of Wall Street. Sales tip 10. Sales is the only job where you decide your own earnings. And without learning and implementing that learning on the actual field, desired earnings can't be achieved. This tip is by Dr. Anshul Dhingra. Sales tip 11. Never set achievable targets. Set a target beyond your reach and do whatever it takes to achieve it. This tip is from Grant Cardone. Sales tip 12. Your record month is a result of the efforts you took in the past 30, 60, 90 days. In sales, instant results is a seldom phenomenon, especially if you are in a car dealership business. You need to keep drilling in all day, every day. Tim Kins presents this sales tip. Sales tip 13. Try to schedule your meetings with the best prospect in the morning. Human anatomy is evolved in such a way that any human avoids to take the risk in the evening by nature. When the energy is highest, the risk decision making probability is also high. This tip is from Zig Ziglar. Sales tip 14. Do extensive research on what other players are doing in the market. Create your product USP. If you offer the same results what your competitors are giving, then you will remain just another salesperson. USP and the research is the key to sales success. This tip is from Tom Ziegler. Sales tip 15. While chasing huge targets, break down those targets into small sections and chase those targets in a pre-scheduled realistic time. Huge numbers will create unnecessary burden, but small realistic targets with an organized plan will make you more organized as a salesperson. This tip is by Tim Kins. Sales tip 16. None of the money you own is your own money originally. It's always someone else's money which you rightfully earned. Hence, never be afraid of the table closing. But before you move towards monetary part, ask the client whether he understood everything about your services, and then ask him whether there is any question about your offerings. This tip is by Grant Cardone. Tip 17. Never undersell anything. Your first meeting might be your last meeting with the client, and hence always oversell and overdeliver. This tip is from Grant Cardone. Sales tip 18. If you want to double your income as a salesperson, then double the numbers you dial every day. This tip is from Jordan Belfort. Sales tip 19. Sales is game of connection. Hence be more and more social. Connect with as many as you can. Let every one of them know what you do professionally and how good you are in your own industry. Take the help of LinkedIn for the same. This is how you create your own brand without any monetary investment in modern era from the scratch. This tip is from Anik Singhal. Sales tip 20. A salesperson should always keep the fact in mind that he is helping out an individual with his service. Helping someone is often a bigger motivator than incentives out of each sale. If, as a salesperson, you start to doubt your product before selling them, immediately have a word with your seniors and clear your doubts about the product. Because doubtful mind won't give you any fruits. This tip is from Nadia Rashid. Sales tip 21. Be the person you are selling to. Try to talk in his language. A client should always feel belongingness with you. If you show him unnecessary attitude, then every chance that he will feel discomfortable. In the process of making the client comfortable, you should never leave your command over the subject. This tip is from Nancy Carter from Sales Made Simple podcast. Sales tip 22. Apart from your product's benefit and the features, let your client feel your passion for the product during the sales presentation. Otherwise, you are no different than your website. This tip is from Ivan Carmichael. Sales tip 23. Be the person from whom you will buy during the presentation, because most of the time will only buy from the person they trust. This tip is from J. Michael Smith. Sales tip 24. Be more and more nicer to your client in each follow-up meeting. Before every conversation, take a little time to think how can you make clients call slash meeting experience more and more memorable to him slash her. People do appreciate and remember nice behavior. This tip is from Rensburger Pivot. Sales tip 25. If people like you, they will listen to you. If people trust you, they will do business with you. This tip is from Zig Ziglar. Sales tip 26. If customer is asking you discount by comparing your product with the rival, then you must have failed to articulate and position value of your service during your presentation. This tip is from Victor Antonio. Sales tip 27. Have you ever seen a single person on the planet who works 5 days or less in a week and still owns a jet? You can't create a legacy without working hard in a disciplined way. This tip is from Will Harris, who runs Power Sales Guru podcast. Tip 28. The best salesperson is the one who has constant fire in his belly, sugar on the tongue, and ice on the head. This tip is from Dr. Yogesh Pawar. Sales tip 29. If you believe that your organization is providing the best solution to your consumer, then your conviction over your services will give you the best results. This is from Sanket Shah of Planet Education. Sales tip 30. Never pitch the discounted rates at the first place. If client isn't buying at MRP, then reduce a little bit of rates by acting like you worked out something for him slash her. Only if he left your shop, then chase him slash her and now pitch the rock bottom price, but always prefer to play on value and avoid selling on prices. Otherwise, you will never achieve mastery on the sales game. This tip is from Art Zobzak. Sales tip 31. Pending a vision for the future of the client via your services in front of the client is the most important thing you should do as a salesperson during the meeting. This tip is from Abhishek Tula. Sales tip 32. Big sales happens by solving the big problems of the big people. Art Subject. Sales tip 33. Indian sales professionals should consider themselves the luckiest as they live in a nation of 135 CR, and in one liberal nation you can't get as many consumers as India can give you. So thank God for being an Indian and work your ass off. This tip is from Dan Locke. Sales tip 34. Don't watch the clock. Do what it does. Keep going. This tip is from Sam Levinson. Sales tip 35. All salesperson who sells non-complex products, furniture, clothing, computer hardware, beverages, etc. will be replaced by digital revolution in next 20 years. Only sales professionals with best of the sales skills will survive in the digital challenge. Hence, if you choose a sales career, then make sure you keep training yourself no matter how good you think you are. David Sheby gives you this sales tip. Sales tip 36. If you are not paying for it, then you are the product. This tip is from the Forbes. This tip was also used as a note in the movie The Social Networks. Sales tip 37. If you are a sales manager and managing a team, then every week you must take a brainstorming session. Ask the individual member in the team what is stopping them from improving his/her sales performance. Ask him/her how you can help him/her in improving performance. This drill should be done with the team irrespective of how good or bad performance is of the team/individual. This tip is from Dr. Yogesh Pawar. Sales tip 38. The kings who made the army fought lots of wars were a great salesperson. Convincing bunch of humans to underwin adversity of war shows those kings slash generals must be showing their respective armies a bigger picture. A picture in quest of which those armies used to put their lives on the line. This tip is from James Buckley. Sales tip 39. Sales manager must keep 15 minutes morning meetings every day and analyze which team member stands where on the leaderboard. Scoreboard is the biggest motivator and a performance mirror for any sales professional. This meeting must start before the working hours, and as soon as workout starts, team must be back to work. Victor Antonio gives you the sales tip. Sales tip 40. If a salesperson is not producing expected numbers, managers first should have a conversation with him/her and ask why numbers aren't getting produced. If the salesperson is complacent, then managers should tell him sales isn't a profession where you should ever be satisfied with your stats. If the bad performance reasons are genuine, like technical fault in tools like phone, CRM, or internet, then as a manager, it's your job to work on the system and make better environment for your team. This tip is from Will Barron. Sales tip 41. Your sale has to be in following steps with the client: appointment, meeting, if necessary follow up, and closing. Objectives of all the above mentioned steps are different to each other, and hence never mix them with each other. Play the game of patience while doing the sales and open only one layer at a time. This tip is from Grant Cardone. Sales tip 42. During the first meeting with the client, your job is to open him/her out as much as you can. Let him/her talk on whichever topic he/she wants during the flow. Just enjoy the conversation. Don't try to rush back to your pitch. Never ever interrupt him/her even if the conversation is going off track. You're the subject expert, hence you can come back to the sales pitch anytime you want. Just let the stranger be a friend of yours first. Client is more probable to buy from the subject expert whom he/she feels that cares about him/her. This tip is from Randy Gage. Sales tip 43. During and before the meeting, spend a lot of time on customer analytics. Go through his/her social media when the meeting starts. Ask a lot of questions around the subject he/she is doing meeting with you. Before pitching your solution, make sure you understand the background and the need of that individual enough. If your solution suiting his/her need, then offer its value to him/her in his/her life. If you don't have exact solution he/she requires, then convince him/her in an ethical way how your solution can be beneficial to him/her. This tip is from Victor Antonio. Sales tip 44. To be interesting, first be interested. That means listen to what person interacting with you is saying carefully and understand his perspective. This tip is from Dale Carnegie. Sales tip 45. The best promoted will always beat the best. Conor McGregor lost 3 out of his last 4 fights. Still, his next fight purse will be 10 times more than the division champion. This is simply because of the fact that he is the best promoted product of the USD. This tip is from Grant Cardone. Sales tip 46. If you are calling a lead, follow the simple steps. First, ask him whether it's the right time to talk. If he says no, then ask him the right time to connect. Then say, the reason I'm calling. Take a deep breath. That pause will create the curiosity in his mind, and then pitch. Once he agrees to your requirement from his end, that is, if he agrees to give you the required appointment or the money for the deal, then don't stretch the conversation much and immediately end it on a good, positive, and smooth note. Also, let him know when you are going to take the next follow up. Sales tip 47. If you are talking to a professor, doctor, or a current and former defense officer, always address them with their rank behind their name. They have achieved that rank with efforts. If you are talking to any other person, address them with sir. No matter how big achiever or non-achiever is that individual is in front of you, address them with respect because eventually he must feel good about meeting you. If by any means he gets offended, then your sales chances are also gone. Dr. Yogesh Pawar gives you the sales tip. The last sales tip. Just like Spider Man, Superman, Batman, etc., salesperson also has a professional uniform. That uniform is complete formals. Have you ever seen superheroes going on a mission without being groomed and without wearing their uniform? So salesperson should also remember that his office is his battleground where he is expected to execute revenue missions. Hence, during office hours, be absolutely groomed and be absolutely presentable. This tip is from Marshall Goldsmith. Hey guys, although I have stopped the sales tips today onwards, but all those tips are available on my Facebook sales tip story highlights. I'll be soon starting a new series of business development tips. As promised, I'm posting sales tip stories video on YouTube as well.